What is good, guys? Welcome back to Water Dragon. Today I'm back with another discussion post video. I'm going to be reacting to what y'all put as the most disrespectful moments of the entire Blue Lock manga. So let's get right into it. Our first person is Withers, who said, when Isagi showed Kaiser who's the clown of his story. And I was 100% sure this was going to be on here. This is, in my opinion, at least top 3 most disrespectful moments in the entire manga, as Isagi basically just clowned a new Gen 11 striker who was basically OP to this point. And he basically just said to Kaiser that he just wanted to be him in anything, and then passes to Yukimi and then just says, "Tell me, Kaiser, how does it feel to be the clown of my story?" And casually just grabs him. And this was definitely an insane moment and was probably the most disrespectful moment in that match for sure. Next up, we have two people who basically commented the same thing. They're both talking about the exact same thing. It was basically in the second selection. We all remember this. Even anime onlys know about this one. So after Isagi basically just used Baro, and Baro was like one of the best players up to this point. Like besides like Nagi and Rin, Baro was definitely up there with like Nagi, Rin, and like the rest of the top 3 second selection. And Isagi just casually clowns him in the middle of the game and uses him to get his own goal. Next up, we have Angel922, who says Isagi walking up to Nico after he beat him during the first selection and just looking straight at him. So I actually didn't remember this one, since most of the time I just reread NEL, since most of my videos are about the later parts of Blue Lock. So this is definitely a very good and a very creative one by Angel here. But I do remember it now. It was around episode 4 or 5, I believe. So after they won, Isagi just looks straight at Nico, says, "So this is what it means to win. This feels so good." And then we have Ego with his sadistic smile in the bottom left, which is also insane in my opinion, for real. Next up, we have Satin, who just says Lavinia's goal. And this is definitely one of the most disrespectful goals in the entire manga, and I am planning on making a top 10 goals video, and this would probably still be in there, a remake of my video from last year, since my opinions have definitely changed a bit. Ranked a few goals way too low and a few goals way too high. But anyway, going back to this goal, Lavinia Bay literally dribbled the entire team after Isagi interfered his 1v1 with Noah, and then Noah basically just became a commentator to Isagi, talking about the ones who get toyed with his dribbling and who fall like they're dancing. They call that the dance of defeat. The even most disrespectful moment is when he chips it over the goalie and then stops it right in front of the goal, turns around, and then just back heels it in, saying, "Dance till you die, you cripples." This actually gave FC Barca the lead. This is the only time where a team had a 2-1 lead against Basel München in the NEL, even though Barca is literally the worst team. Next up, we have Hihi, who is a very active commentator on this channel, and he's a Nagi and Sai Glazer, so from most of the comments I've seen, and he says Nagi disrespecting Baro in episode Nagi with his goal against him. This was definitely one of the most disrespectful moments in episode Nagi, but if you haven't read it, just skip ahead a bit. So basically, in episode Nagi, the first selection against Team X against Baro, they were winning like 4-2, but then Baro said Nagi's goals were boring, and then Baro scores like this super goal, but they're still losing, but Nagi goes up straight up to 1v1 Baro, and Rayo's confused about why he's doing that, because Nagi always used to take the easy pass before losing against Isagi. He literally had basically no motivation, and then Rayo does one of his normal, like, good passes, like, since he is like one of the best midfielders and stuff, and then Nagi just traps it, and then he doesn't even look at the pass, he gets it, and then Baro's literally like flabbergasted right now. His face looks so goofy in that picture. And then Nagi straight up just says, "Still think I'm boring," and then Baro's like, he deliberately went for the back heel trap to show me up, and then Nagi cooks him, and then he says, "You let the slave get it better of you. You fail as king," and then scores this goal on Baro after Baro fouled him. So Nagi could have just taken the foul and then just gotten a penalty, which would have been a free goal, since like this is an NPC in goal right there. Next up, we have Meme Boss OG with his usual Baro glazing, and he just says Baro's celebration, and this was definitely, I wouldn't say it's like that disrespectful, but it was definitely one of the coldest moments and definitely brought up Baro's aura a lot. And so after scoring the gamble shot against both Isagi and Kaiser, two Metavision users, and probably the two best in the entire U20 category at that, and Baro just jumps up into the air and celebrating his brace with the rest of the team, and then even gets Snuffy to not retire, and he just straight up goes up to Snuffy and then talks about and then he says, I won't let a second-rate striker. And he's talking trash like this to the number one player in the world. He literally called the number one player in the world a second-rate striker. So that's actually insane. And literally made Snuffy unretire and basically and made Snuffy say that until I die, I'll be a shitty brat with dreams too. And then Snuffy just goes behind him with his Phoenix aura and says, I'm the best in the world. So this was definitely a very disrespectful, it wasn't that much of a disrespectful moment, I guess, but it was definitely one of the coldest goals in the entire series. And then after that, I even forgot about this part, he just straight up goes up to Isagi and says, time to settle this loser with the last point. Next up, we have Om Kulkarni, who got really creative with this one and straight up just brought a quote from the anime and says, if you spread your legs that easily, people will think you're a loose guy. Leonardo Luna to Itoshi Rin. So after Leonardo Luna was the last one to score in the World 5 game, and like Isagi and Bachira, Ryu, and Tokimitsu all gave up because it was 4-1, and they were playing against world-class players who cooked all of them in every single category. But then there's Rin, who's like, not yet. This isn't over yet. And then Luna's like, unlike the other kids, you really still think you can win this? Then he says, I'm going to discourage you with my whole heart. And then just comes up with this literal like force field around him. Like the aura is actually insane in this panel. And does his dribbling and then sees a hole and then says, that's no good. If you spread your legs that easily, people are going to think you're a loose guy, before scoring the game-winning goal against Team Blue Lock, which is absolutely crazy for real. Next up, we have Fofo Tsukiyomi with his usual Sai glazing, saying Sai cooking the whole Blue Lock team. But in his defense, that was definitely one of the most disrespectful moments in the U20 arc, and even though I'm not that much of a Sai fan myself, I can definitely say it was very impressive. First up, we have the goal after passing to the dumb U20 strikers 3 times and missing them. He casually shoots from basically almost an impossible angle and gets the goal past Gagamaru to score the opener against the Blue Lock 11, even though he's a midfielder. And then later on, but most of it is with his dribbling and his passing. So he casually just cooks Isagi and then says only the idiots who can keep up will get to see what comes next, before getting past both Baro and Karasu, and then makes Rin super mad, just saying, just how far are you? We used to be right next to each other. We used to be connected. Then next up, we have Om Kulkarni again, and he says the moment when Itoshi Sai chose Isagi as the guy who changes Japanese football, not Rin. So yet again, we have another moment of Sai cooking Rin in the U20. And this was after the game, after Blue Lock won. He says, I was wrong. I thought Japan could never produce a proper striker. Then Rin actually seems to be happy. And then he just casually says, the one who drew out your instincts and who will change Japanese soccer is Yoichi Isagi. He might be the egoist to do it. And then we see Rin's face here. His big brother issues have just reached another level, man. He's falling into deep depression right now. Then he's like, Japan can still change. This is what made Rin into like what he is right now in the NEO, which is absolutely insane. Because I'll talk about Itoshi Rin's NEO performance in a later video, but like this was a moment that shaped his ego to where it is right now. But the Rin is definitely one of my top 5 favorite characters, so I wasn't gonna let the consistent Rin disc going without. And then we have someone who says when Rin got into the flow state and destroyed the whole U20 team with their own weapons. And right now, this is probably number one for me. The rest I didn't really put in order, but I saved this one because I feel like this is probably the most disrespectful moment of them all, in my opinion. So basically, we saw Rin get into the Destroyer state first, and then he's like, who cares about Sai or Isagi or revenge or rivals or all of Blue Lock? Everything binding me is awful. And this panel is just insane because he's basically just throwing everything away. All he wants to do is score. Everything is focused on him scoring. He even stopped caring about Sai, who he was obsessing with for more than 2 years, which is absolutely crazy in my opinion. Next up, he just says, I'm the one who's lukewarm, the disgusting one, the one who needs to be crushed, the one who should be in pieces is myself. Like, Rin is yapping right now, though. Each panel has like 5 sentences or something. Then he sticks out his tongue like Sai and Rin used to do earlier back in their backstory, and then starts cooking with his water aura for real. And first up, he goes up against Neru, and this was back in the U20, so the defenders are actually like decently high in the power scaling. Then right now they're basically all bums, but still. So without doing anything, he just says, your weapon is speed. I'll trigger your acceleration and lead you to the opposite side and destroy you with my own acceleration while nutmegging him too, which is crazy. Then he says, what an aggressive technique. Then Isagi says he's lost it. This is totally different than Rin's normal style. His movements lack rationality. And then he gets to another one, and he's just not passing the ball. And then the like Buddha dude says, "What am I next?" Then your weapon is slipping behind people, so I'll take that stage. I'll get behind and obliterate you. That brat making us use our own weapons by challenging our strong points head on. What an arrogant style. And then he passed to Isagi, and then Isagi was expecting to keep passing back and forth. But then after Rin got the pass back, he turned around and then trapped the ball with the back of his heel, which is like Nagi type shit. And then what's it called? It says ruin them all, and then says here's the third victim. And then this bum just straight up goes up to him and says, if you want to fight, then come and get it. But can we talk about how this kid looks like he's literally like 40 or something? This dude is not a U20 player, bruh. He looks older than the entire World of 5. This dude looks like Snuffy's age. And then Rin just says, kill, kill, kill. Your torso is your main power source, so I'll challenge you and lay my bait. But against my physical strength, those little tricks are worthless. And then Rin just calls him an arrogant fool, which he definitely is, because he just straight up just ran straight on against one of the biggest masterminds on the field. It says time to spin, center of gravity, rotating destruction, and then just makes him go to the ground, which is absolutely crazy, because like we ain't seeing Isagi doing none of that. And then we have Nagi who just says damn casually and like the normal cool self he is. And then Karasu just saying, is that really Rin? And then even Ego says he's drawing out their strongest weapons and then cruising them in a show of supremacy. So this is your flow state, Rin Itoshi. And then Isagi says, you're a madman. That's a Rin? I do not know. And we all know what happens next, but I'm not